The forest was quiet, wrapped in the cold embrace of night, when the ranger patrolled the familiar trails he had walked 1,000 times before. The moonlight barely pierced through the dense canopy, casting shifting shadows that danced across the undergrowth. Suddenly, the sharp crack of metal against rock echoed through the trees, jolting him to full alert. Heart pounding, he rushed toward the sound, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. There, tangled among broken branches and overturned dirt, lay a sleek black car, its front crumpled and smoke curling from the engine. A figure moved inside the wreck, struggling to free herself. As he approached, the rain-soaked young woman emerged, her expensive clothes clinging to her frame and her eyes wide with fear. She introduced herself with a calmness that contrasted sharply with the chaos around her. She was the heiress of a notorious Yakuza family, she said, traveling alone when fate had thrown her into danger. Despite the shock of her revelation, he felt a surge of responsibility. She could not stay out in the forest alone, not in this weather. He hesitated, weighing the risks of letting someone so dangerous into his home, yet his instincts urged him to help. He led her back to his cabin, the wind howling around them, making the night feel even more oppressive. Inside, the fire flickered, casting a warm glow that highlighted her delicate features and the tension in his own body. Silence settled between them, thick and uneasy, punctuated only by the occasional drip of water from her hair onto the wooden floor. He offered her a blanket, and she accepted with a faint, enigmatic smile. Every movement she made, every glance she gave, seemed deliberate, loaded with a confidence that unnerved him. The forest, once a place of solitude and control, now felt foreign and unpredictable. He realized, as he watched her settle near the fire, that this single night would not be simple. It would be the beginning of a story neither of them could have foreseen, and his peace, once so steadfast, was already slipping through his fingers. The fire crackled softly, filling the cabin with a fragile warmth, yet the ranger felt an unease he could not shake. The heiress sat across from him, her posture relaxed, yet her eyes were sharp, constantly measuring him, reading him. She began to speak, revealing fragments of her life in carefully chosen words. She told him about the legacy she carried, a family entangled in a world of power and danger, a wealth that came with enemies and rivals lurking in every corner. Her words were measured, but the weight of them pressed down on him like the heavy shadows of the forest outside. He listened, torn between curiosity and caution, his mind racing to assess the truth in her story. She spoke of people who would stop at nothing to take what was hers, of promises broken and loyalties tested. Every sentence hinted at dangers he had only heard about in whispers, and the more she spoke, the more he realized how deeply he could be drawn into her world if he allowed himself to be involved. At the same time, he noticed subtle, almost imperceptible signs that she was not just telling him a story, the way her fingers drummed on the table, the brief flicker of a smirk when he reacted to something she said. There was a game being played, and he was part of it whether he wanted to be or not. The forest outside seemed unusually silent, as if even the wildlife sensed the tension that had entered the cabin. He tried to focus on reason, to remind himself of the dangers of helping someone so entangled in a criminal legacy, yet the thought of leaving her out in the storm felt impossible. As the hours passed, a strange intimacy developed in the shared silence that followed her revelations. Every glance she cast, every pause in her story, carried unspoken intentions, and he found himself restless, unable to settle, unable to sleep. He realized that the night was no longer just a passage of time, it had become a test of trust, of control, and of judgment. The heiress, fully aware of the effect she was having, leaned back in her chair with an air of quiet confidence, leaving him caught in a web of curiosity, caution, and a growing, inexplicable tension that refused to leave him alone.